I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, it's not the worst. It's not Jeremiah Crichton.
That is always our floor.
It is just kind of very messy. But we've had like how many good episodes that were really tight
Mm-hmm.
in the last run? So, one that's kind of like soup a little bit.
Okay, so listen, I'm interested in hearing your take because so far I did not have the same experience.
Okay, well, maybe it's just like sometimes they don't hold up as well when you've rewatched a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do the thing. Hi, friends,
Howdy, y'all.
and welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I do things on the internet.
I mean, I'm Josh Gosdin. I also do things on the internet.
There we go, and that's enough. It feels weird to like do my self promo thing and be the only one doing it.
Well, when we get to the end of this particular episode recording, Sara, I'm looking forward to hearing all about all the wonderful things that you do because it is not weird to me to listen to your success.
Yeah, but it's weird for me to say it. Anyway, we will do the summary. Sons and Lovers was written by Justin Monjo and directed by Andrew Prouse. We open with Rigel playing with his earbrows while spying on Gianna and Jothi having sex. So that's a thing that happened. Anyway, Moya is docked at a space mall, and everyone else is catching up on their shopping or getting wasted in the bar. Dargo bought some marriage tattoos for he and Gianna, even though he hasn't actually asked her. Oh, buddy. An emo chick recognizes John and starts to fangirl. She also gives an exposition dump on this part of space. So there have been some suspicious storms that destroyed other stations. Some say they're cursed by a god, because this space is sacred to a certain religious group. And wouldn't you know it, but a storm hits the station. On Moya, pilot needs help stabilizing the ship and calls Gianna, which puts an end to the activities in the cargo bay. This impact also broke open one of the cryopods, defrosting one of the Interons. Jothi stays with him while Gianna goes to help pilot. As she's leaving, Rigel accosts her in the hallway for a dose of slut-shaming and frailing with her mind, reminding her that Dargo has a good sense of smell and will smell Jothi on her. Back on the station, the crew are working to help where they can, clearing debris and tending wounds. Aaron spots a child in a window across the station. Apparently this place has a daycare. John and Aaron look for a route through the not Jeffries tubes to save the kids. Aaron decides this is a great time to talk about them, and offers that even if she isn't up for an emotional connection, how about they have some straightforward, uncomplicated banging. John is not buying the charity, and they're about to either bang or fight when she falls through the floor. Turns out she found a route to the kids, and she's gonna go alone from here. In the cargo bay, the newly thawed Interion guy gets in one insult to Jothi's manhood, and then promptly dies. Gianna returns from assisting Moya to tell Jothi to bathe to get rid of her scent. I hate it here. Pilot detects that the storms are being artificially drawn to the station, and there's a big one coming. He sets up some DRDs to connect the signal. Dargo returns to Moya and tries to talk to Gianna, but she's not ready and leaves. Stark and Zahn have a conversation about her dying. He is the expert on death. She says he should be used to it. But as he says, he's not an expert on her dying. Back to the people bad at communicating. Dargo finds Jothi and Gianna talking. They act weird and he notices they're always together. He says he smells something and they fall all over themselves trying to make excuses. And, well, meow, cat's out of the bag, and he knows now. And he's pissed. He refuses to speak to Gianna and lashes out at Jothi physically, burning him with tattoos. Back on the station, the DRDs have found the source of the storm-attracting signal. It's inside the emo chick. Turns out she's a religious zealot, and apparently also magnetic. A suicidal, magnetic, religious zealot emo chick, who promptly sticks herself to a sci-fi steel pipe. Well, bugger. While the rest of them deal with that, Pilot needs Dargo to go on a spacewalk to clear Moya of the cables connecting her to the station. At first he is too depressed, but then he heads out in a very fatalistic mood. And while working with bumper cables, he gets a nasty shock that knocks him out. Pilot has figured out that the cryopods, so conveniently vacated by the Interon, is made of the same sci-fi steel. John pulls the suicidal, magnetic, religious, zealot, emo chick off the wall and takes her back to Moya. Then he heads out to get the last cable and find Dargo. But as he's struggling with the cable, Dargo finds him. He's still in the dark place, but John talks him around to coming back inside. John goes to check on the religious, zealot, magnetic, emo chick, and finds she's readjusted herself to stick to Moya's wall. Oh well, you won. Except that's not a wall, that's a hatch, and it's detachable. So goodbye, magnetic, zealot, religious, emo chick. The day is saved for the station. Erin is back having freed the children, and her and John revisit the sex question, deciding it's best to not for now. And Dargo finally hears out Chiana's honest feelings by spying on her, telling them to Jothi as he takes his leave. So,
Yeah.
The good news is this is the end of the Chiana-Jothi relationship.
Thank God, man. I am glad they closed it off in the second episode of the season. I was not looking forward to a love triangle like that the entire season.
Oh, no. The word is that they wanted to keep Matt Newton around, but that he got a job somewhere else. So
sometimes serendipity writes the plot.
I won't say whether we see Jothi again, but Matt Newton has gone on to do other work.
I do hope we see Jothi again, if only because he was probably at his most interesting in his final scene.
I think so, yes.
Finally felt like a character there. But yeah, no, I is it weird to say I enjoyed such an uncomfortable episode?
I don't know. It's weird because like there are aspects of it that I enjoy and there are aspects that I find very frustrating. And there are ones that I find frustrating in a sort of good way, like the disastrous end of Chiago. Is a lot of it is well done, I think, but and I love the emotional stuff for Dargo. But a lot of but I really get annoyed with these stupid emo chick. There's too much of that damn chant. And John and Erin, I feel like there's something missing in that arc. In that, like, they both change their mind on the sex thing, but they, like, there's no why they changed their mind. Like, it could be a reflection of what's happening with Dargo and Chiana, but it's not, because John's the one who's been seeing that fall apart, and he's the one who's like, oh yes, we can have sex at the end. And she was the one who was like, oh, let's have sex at the beginning. And then for some reason, finding the kid somewhere along the way, she decided that was a bad idea. And
I like to think that she took the sign from the universe when she collapsed through the floor right when she was unbuttoning her top. Which I was watching this episode today with my fiance, and she laughed her ass off in that scene. While the dramatic music was like thrumming, she was like giggling like a schoolgirl next to me.
Yeah, it's a good scene. I feel like if we'd had, I don't know, like, I think they could have made it work more, had some thematic, had it comment on the Chiana and Dargo stuff, like, because Chiana and Dargo are kind of the test of the thesis that that Aaron laid out last episode, that relationships on ships cause problems.
Mm-hmm. They are, and the lack of, I guess, thematic tissue to connect the two of them together. This isn't actually something that I picked up on while I was watching it, and so I appreciate you kind of bringing that up. I enjoyed how they ended the love triangle that I didn't like. Like I think you said it really well. It brought a lot of really great emotional stuff to Dargo, and gave Anthony Simcoe a chance to like really shine through the makeup. And Gigi Edgley too. Like she was putting it all over the place. It was great. I really am a sucker for a disaster story. Whether it's the Poseidon Adventure style like this was, or Towering Inferno, or whatever. It is inherently tense and dramatic, and it draws me in, and it also forces fun character dynamics that I really enjoy. Like Rigel in this episode being kind of the conscience of the group for once. In his calling out Chiana, and also in the way that he was very much with you and the not a fan of emo chick.
Yeah, on that part, but I don't know that I'd call him the conscience when he was like that. There was some intrusive voyeurism at the start there.
Oh, unquestionably, yeah. Like that was,
and the slut shaming.
He was, well, so him in the middle of this episode being, I guess, more of a conscience than he usually is, was so striking because it starts off so typically Rigel. Like it starts off very much like, "Oh, hey, Rigel, what are you looking at?" Because that's what he does. And I didn't.
I suppose if we grade on a curve for a given value of Rigel,
which we have to for these characters, I think they each get their own curve for sure. And you're right; he definitely could have delivered it differently. But I actually really appreciated that he immediately took Chiana to task for her actions, as opposed to, I guess, ignoring it or finding it fun or making light of it or whatever. Like he really read her the riot act.
Yes.
In a way that made it seem like he was standing up for Dargo.
Yes, and he is Rigel. He's going to be a dick because, yeah. But I don't know. The whole smell thing is just so uncomfortable. It makes sense, but it's also just kind of like, and then it's very Farscape, but it's just kind of like, why are we talking about what this teenage boy smells of?
Now, Sara, I'm sure you've heard all about the birds and the bees.
I do. If it was sexy, and if it was a couple that was not ew.
Nothing about that experience was sexy or titillating or even thrilling in a Basic Instinct, we know this is wrong kind of way. Like it was just gross and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And admittedly, the joke that makes no sense but is still funny about the thing being like, the noise didn't go on for very long.
That they still snuck that in the middle of this man's death scene.
Like, that's so Farscape.
Like, yeah, but as an actor, can you imagine getting hired for a death scene? That's your only scene, and you get like 5 lines of dialogue, and one of them is a penis joke.
I thought it was a stamina joke more than anything.
You say tomato.
Clearly not very long in either case.
Indeed.
Yeah. But I don't know. I suppose it works if you're going to be repulsive. Make the Vizsla really repulsive by making us think about the smell of bad sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like I said, the final scene with Jothi and Chiana. It was Jothi is most interesting and closest to actually being a character, but I don't know. Like they tried to play it like it was this kind of like sweet, mournful, maybe in another lifetime we could have goodbye.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the wrong way to play it, in my opinion. Because these are both characters who fucked up and know they fucked up.
Yeah, I like the way they play it. I think the music is maybe a bit misdirected.
That's what I'm
And usually the
about.
score is excellent for
Mhm.
but like I think for me what makes this not Connor and Cordelia, which we've compared it to a lot,
Mhm.
is that it does actually come from Chiana's character. It's not
Yes.
character assassination. She knew she was doing wrong, and like there is a character consistent reason, and the fact that she is that self-aware to be able to say it, even though she can't say it to Dargo. You know, that this is like this is her going back to old patterns. This is her thinking that he won't take no for an answer, so she had to push him away and do something unforgivable, which she did. This
Mhm.
is unforgivable. This is how you blow up your life and your
Mhm.
relationship.
Absolutely, unquestionably. Like mission accomplished, Chiana. Good job.
Yeah.
And I think there was the part where she was like, "You wouldn't take no for an answer," that Dargo really reacted to in his eavesdroppy. Which did he borrow? Um, did he borrow Rigel's TV? Like, how did he know where they were going to be?
I don't know. I think maybe the clamshells are just there, and somehow everybody seems to be able to eavesdrop on. I don't know.
All right.
It's one of the things in this episode that's kind of yada yada.
Yeah, it is very much like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I guess we just kind of went straight in on the main thing, but
I think both of us have had well established feelings about it. So wanted to get it out of the way.
yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I always feel when this bit comes up. It's like I love the idea of Jothi as a MacGuffin is great. The presence of Jothi goes meh, and then very icky.
This is like the one of the weirdest or worst ways they could have gone with this character. Like I guess now that the storyline is over, I can really comment on the writing as a finished product. I don't understand this writing choice to make Jothi into this semi villain, semi chaotic spoiler spanner. Like he's this is you know they could have done so many other more interesting things than this. Dargo's finally found his son.
Yeah, I guess it's the writing advice they give sometimes is the thing to do is to torture your characters, and this is probably one of the worst things you could do to Dargo.
That is true, unquestionably.
But why did you do this to us?
Why did you torture the audience?
Like, and it does get Dargo to like there are some interesting places Dargo goes in this episode. Um, you know, the performance by Anthony Simcoe, much as this is like a kind of episode, maybe just because I don't want to watch all the but but like I've always loved his performance and that
Mhm.
like despair and the bromance where John goes to get him, you know. Yeah.
Where he's literally hanging on by a thread. Like I caught the symbolism.
Yeah. It would have been nice, I think, maybe to have more space for actual conversation, but then also like they're doing the very man thing of using very few words to try and say everything.
Well, and I'm hopeful we'll get some more conversation upcoming in future episodes, at least between Dargo and Chiana.
Hmm. Um, and then we have like the absolute horrible scene of the discovery and his um Dargo's response.
Yeah, that was a tough one to watch, man.
Yeah.
The way he raged out like that.
Like, he
And
is so cold to Chiana.
shoves her,
Yeah.
brands his son.
Yeah. We love him, and you can understand the feelings, but also, like, holy shit, is that a thing to do with the character? Have him brand his own son.
Yeah, no, they went there for sure. And you know, if it's going to be torture your characters, and the decision to use Chiana and Jothi to torture Dargo is an unfortunate one, because it's, especially for Chiana, it's very reductive. It makes her just a girl, just his girl, you know, as opposed to the fully formed three-dimensional grappling with her own trauma kind of a character that she was turning into. And do they scoop it out by the end in a way that I was hoping that they would? Yeah, they do. And I'll be curious to see where they go with it. But just putting it in the context of this was designed to take Dargo's character to the edge. Yeah, I'm just not wild about it. Because then when they do take him to that place, now we're stuck with, you know, where do we go from here? And will any of his behavior be addressed? You know, that kind of a thing, or will it all be very justified? Because everybody is mad at Chiana this episode.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is remotely sticking up for her, and very understandably so. But that's also putting. I was getting weird vibes while I was watching the episode that it was designed also specifically to make sure that Dargo was the one that got all of our sympathy for it.
Yeah.
And in a weird, I don't know, like kind of machismo kind of a way, like, you know, you see, you know, bitches always cheat kind of a way. And in, I don't know, it was just a little, there's just something about this whole thing that just, it just tastes bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing, it's interesting because it is putting Chiana in the position of being just the girl, but then that is what he's doing to her, and what she's reacting to is he's putting her in the position of just his woman. The way, like, when we have that confrontation, he acts he like, his betrayal is, I can't remember what the word he used, but it was like, you did this with my woman, and she's like, I'm not your woman. Like, I'm not your, I think it's mana or something. Like, it's like he treats her as a possession that his son. And I think that, like, that is part of, I think that's bound up in why she did this horrible thing, is because that's how he was treating her, as like he was putting her in this box. But the writing is also how to put it, like, it's very 2000.
Yeah.
You know, like the like, we are kind of doing misogyny and also commenting on the misogyny. At
Yeah, a
least
little
it's not
bit.
in a
Yeah.
joke. You know, it's not like in a, trying to do it as a joke in a, I don't know. But it is like, yeah, it is sort of doing the misogyny, like, it's half aware of the misogyny it's doing, but only half aware. And I think that Gigi Edgley is also bringing a lot to that, because there is a lot that she is doing, like, that is giving us that Chiana's emotional experience of being put on the shelf, being put in the box, and raging at being put in the box.
She has this point where she shouts at Jothi, just go, or just go shower, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right as she's storming out of the room. And what sounded like Gigi Edgley's real vocal intonation came through. Like, it didn't sound like the affect she puts on for Chiana, the kind of the breathy, whatever, you know, like it sounded like what she probably sounds like in real life. I've never actually heard her talk. And whenever an actor gets to that point of, or pushes past, I guess, any of the affectations that they put on for their character, I always feel like they're really getting into the moment that they're in, and it's very moving, and it was very moving, and that's in that point when I heard that.
It's also Chiana is so bound up in her gender, and gender, a lot of that is performative. You know, it's something you do.
Yeah.
And like, and in Chiana's case, there is very much a lot of the way that she does gender, the way that she does womanhood, and sort of her kiss, kill, or frel her way out of things, like, sort of is owning. She sort of made a thing out of owning the being sexualized, which again makes me feel it's a very sort of 2000s-ish kind of thing. But her, like, sort of dropping that, and for, like, seeing the cracks in that, to just, like, tired of that shit is what I get when her voice is cracking and she's just like, just bathe, just do the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. It's interesting but uncomfortable, I think is is this episode.
Yeah. And I don't mind it when a show makes me uncomfortable for good reasons. You know, if it makes me uncomfortable because it makes me question my own biases or my own ethics or whatever like that. But I'm not sure if the show made me uncomfortable here for a good reason.
Mm. Well, let's take a break from the uncomfortable and talk about something else. Let's talk about Stark and Zahn.
If they go where it seems like they're going, I'm going to miss Virginia Hay and I'm going to miss Zahn. I don't know for sure, and I'm okay with that for the time being. But this is back to this episode, and much more consistently, more recently, this has been the flavor of Zahn that I most enjoy. The helper, the healer, the the righteous one.
Yeah.
And at the very least, it seems like at this point, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die doing what I know is right.
Yes.
Because she's still running around trying to help people.
Yeah, and she tries really hard to save Mortal.
She does. Yeah.
I love him as a Muppet.
He was a really good construct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor guy probably felt terrible having an entire, RV strapped to his face, but
yeah, he's got that sort of Big Bird Muppet-y thing where it's like a whole thing, but it's like he's like half pilot, and extra arms and everything. He's a fascinating. I don't know. I wonder about his life and his world.
Yeah.
But instead he spends his last time trying to guide Aaron to finding the kids, which is lovely. While Zahn tends to him. And Stark tries to tend to him. So it's a sort of a healers and bartenders and
there's a lot there, I think. Stark is also like I said in our last discussion, so far season 3 Stark is preferable to season 2 Stark. I'm enjoying him a lot more at this point, and I'm really enjoying his tragically too late romance with Zahn.
Yeah, I love that moment where she, are you supposed to be the expert on dying, but I'm not the expert on you dying.
Yeah, that one hit. That one hit real good.
Yeah. And there's also the moment in the beginning of the episode where he is tipping people ridiculously.
I relate to that. I just had a talk with some of my friends and we were talking about, so how much do you tip? How much do you leave behind in gratuity? And I regularly leave 20 or more % whenever I'm out there. And a couple of the folks around me, they were like, dude, bro, but like, what if the service isn't all that great? And, Stark in the episode has some kind of a line where he's like, we're all suffering.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I feel seen for tipping.
I wish I obviously I do, and I try, I do what I can, but I Just wish we could give people decent wages instead.
Imagine a world.
Because I don't want to have to do the math.
Imagine a world.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to do extra math, which is the lesser consideration than people should be able to pay their fucking rent. But never mind.
It's definitely one of those things where Stark would totally agree with you, and he would lead the revolution of the proletariat in a heartbeat.
Yes, well, he is a freed slave, so
he gets it.
Yeah, he has some ideas, I think, but they're all like, I guess they didn't have to pay the diagnosis, so they still have all.
Exactly.
So they are rich and famous.
That's what John was saying as he was drowning his sorrow. I was like, they've still got all their money.
Yeah.
And they're doing just fine with it. But yeah, no, tragically too late. I found you. Why do I have to find you now? Kind of a Fault in Our Stars, kind of a romance. It's in the stars, and it's all very well done and very well played and very affecting.
And of course, Zahn would say, well, the important thing is that we found each other.
Exactly. Watching her peel back her headdress and to see that she's starting to, I guess, rot. That was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because she's a plant, and so this is what happens when a plant dies. But
yeah, but if they can find a planet with the right soil,
we got a map. After all this shenanigans, we got a map.
Yeah. So, yeah. I love their little.
Me too.
Yeah, and it's nice to have it. We sort of have a trio of relationships, or like we have
situationships.
I don't know. Is it 3 or 4? Because Chiana's got 2 of them.
It's like 3.5. Jothy's not,
Yeah, but we've got Aaron and John who love each other but aren't acting on it. Except maybe we can do the fluid levels, because release that's not complicated. And we've got the end of Chiago, and we've got Stark and Zahn. Ston? No, that's not something.
No, it's
Zark. That's worse.
That's like a root beer.
I don't know. The magic couple. They're, yeah. And they're the healthy one, which.
Ironically.
Yeah.
Well, since you brought them up, you want to talk about Aaron and John?
Yeah. I mean, like I already said, I feel like it could have been drawn sharper, because I would have liked the change of heart about the banging, no banging to have come out of like being there for Dargo or something like that, to have reflected on that, because I think it would have given a bit more. Yeah, I think it would have given a bit more resonance to the whole thing, but instead it's just like, no, now John's horny. Nope, now she's not.
I feel like I can definitely track it on Aaron's side. Tracking John's change of heart takes a little bit more work for me, but in the last episode, Aaron specifically didn't want to get into a relationship with John because she didn't want to put anything at risk. She didn't want to put anybody at risk. She didn't want to put anything in the way of her being able to do her job and all that kind of good stuff. And in this episode, she thinks, well, maybe I can have my cake and eat it too. Maybe I can just bang this man and release the tension, reduce the fluids, Sara. Mm. And as soon as she lets herself entertain that or open up the notion of that by, being a little sexy and coquettish and unbuttoning her shirt, the fucking floor falls out from underneath her. It still gets in the way of her doing her job. So it still validates this fear of hers. So that, to me, is where her change of heart came from. It came as soon as she fell down into the shaft.
See, I didn't pick up on that. I but I like your read on it.
John's change of heart, I think, might have something to do with everything ends anyway, so why not?
See, if he'd said that,
Exactly. Like I'm putting a lot onto it, a lot more onto it than what the text gave me.
yeah.
Or he just, is horny because it wouldn't be for Aronson.
I mean, it's Farscape. Everybody's horny.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
But his initial refusal, I think, was the wiser course for him. And she calls him out on it too. She was like, "I don't want to deal with your emotions."
Yeah, and I think it's petty that he refers to it as charity, but it is sort of like kind of how he's perceiving it because they come from worlds with very different values on in terms of casual sex. And it is, of course, interesting that we have the woman proposing casual sex and the man going no.
They continue to be gender reversed.
Yeah.
In their coding and their writing in ways that I really enjoy and appreciate.
Yeah. Well, their particular role, and then also it's interesting because in other ways, John is being very, very very blokey at times.
He is when he's. I guess I should say their traditional gender roles are reversed within the context of their relationship. But yeah, outside of their relationship, John is definitely the frat boy or the man's man, John Wayne.
Yeah. It's a bit of it's playing with gender.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of
Relieving fluids.
Yeah. It's fluidity.
It is. It's so fluidity. God bless America, though. Ben Browder and Claudia lacks chemistry, man. Like my TV was sweating.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Shit.
This is quite the season. Yeah.
Season of death.
And then we have the plot and emo girl.
Sure. Which what a twist that was. No, I mean the reveal that she was the one all along was so like
obvious.
Bum, 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 the way that it was played in the episode, but it was just very much like, oh, okay. For me as an audience member. Not even because it was obvious, but because it just didn't have any impact or weight behind it.
Yeah, it is a bit of a, I don't know, a weird, like, it's a strange plot. And one thing that has always struck me as weird about this episode is Pilot's laugh.
Okay. I'm glad we're talking about that. I thought I was the only one that watched him maniacally cackle in red lighting.
Like, what the hell?
Is Pilot okay? Because he was really like snarky and short with the crew last episode. And this episode, he's maniacally laughing at someone's death that he caused. Is my guy okay?
I mean, she caused her own death.
Well, he hit the eject button.
Yes, he's taking way too much pleasure in hitting the eject button. And I don't know, like, was he just so much even more annoyed by the chanty stuff? Like Marakabi.
His maniacal laugh was so out of left field and evil and unsettling that I was like, what is happening? Where are we going with this? Did we just start a huge new plot line for the season? And I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it was a one-off thing, but yeah, or maybe he just thought that John's joke was hilarious.
I don't know. It is a very weird moment.
I'll take it though. I'll take it. I'll take Pilot emoting any day.
Oh yeah, I love passive aggressive Pilot.
You like petty Pilot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I like mournful affecting this giant mechanical puppet is making me cry pilot.
Yeah, I love that pilot too. And I love High Pilot. I mean, I love all the pilots, but maniacal evil pilot is not.
That was it was a twist. It was a turn that the episode took.
Yeah. It was an interesting choice. In terms of theme stuff, I looked up the book Sons and Lovers, which it sort of takes its name from D.H. Lawrence. And it's interesting. Apparently, the plot is a mother who holds on to her sons too much, and they struggle to have relationships because they're too intimately tied to their mother.
Okay.
and the boy, the second part apparently is a guy who sort of tries to have an affair with a married woman and also a relationship with another woman, but also struggles because of his like overly influential mother, and he ends up alone at the end. So I don't know, it was interesting stuff about like parents holding on too tight and
okay.
And like trying to have two relationships but not really doing it right. I don't know. I think there's some there, but perhaps if I had read the book, but I just read the Wikipedia.
There might be some there at the very least. It's a cute nod because Dargo ends up alone at the end. Yeah. And he was the one who was holding on too tight.
Yeah, he was sort of putting himself in the role of parent with his partner.
Yeah.
And that, like, I know that's some people's kink. That's over there, and we will not shame the kinky stuff.
Oh yeah, that's not what we're talking about.
In terms of emotional stuff, I think there's a lot of danger in that having the relationship where you're infantilizing and sort of in the role of parents, much as everybody likes to joke about daddy. It's not actually sexy. Most of the time, it's not actually healthy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that there's any number of kinks, Sara, that can become unhealthy if they are placed in a solely emotional context, or if they are, in this particular instance, something that someone is trying to impose on someone else. And so Dargo is both the mother and the son, I guess.
Yeah.
Moya was literally tangled up.
Yeah.
She's a mother.
Yes, and her son isn't here.
Yeah, so there's some there.
Yeah. I remember when the relationship started, Jack was very uncomfortable because he saw them in a sort of big brother parental kind of role.
I remember that as well.
And I think it's one of the things that makes them incompatible, but also makes it kind of an interesting, journey to go on.
Well, it's an interesting journey to go on, and I'm always reminded of something that you said way back when we were talking about season 1, when we first met Rolf and Rourke. What was that one? Dogs and whatever?
Till the blood runs clear.
Till the blood runs clear, not dogs at all. But you said that at one point, one of the writers or creators of Farscape described the metaphor of the blood, and particularly in that episode of John and Dargo's relationship, as can they face and confront and work through their own toxicity in order to get it out of their systems. And I think about that a lot with this episode, and being the culmination of Chiago and the dissolution of Chiago, around how much shit Dargo took into the relationship that he hadn't worked out through or addressed, and how much shit Chiana took into the relationship that she hadn't worked through or addressed. If you have substitute parental figure and rebellious brat together in a sexual relationship, it's bound to blow up at some point. And
unless it's purely role play.
We're not king shaming.
Yeah.
But there were definitely points, and I was a Chiago defender for a while. There were definitely points where it seemed like they were both moving in positive, healthy, growing directions. And I think the biggest thing that did doom their relationship was finding Joffy, because he fully was trying to be like full parent to Joffy, and he was trying to reconstruct. He was trying to get back what he lost. He was trying to reconstruct his family unit. And if they hadn't found Joffy when they had, if it had just been the two of them for a while, they might have had a better shot at being able to work through their shit.
I think it's also like he started to have a lot of big feelings and he wasn't sharing. Yeah, she was constantly there sort of offering, and there were a few times that he did, and there was a disconnect, but a lot of it he just stopped sharing.
Which he apologized for in this episode, but clearly too little too late.
And I think, and John was trying in the beginning of the episode to point out to him that he needs to actually talk to Chiana, and consider the possibility that she would say no.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe a little too much aviation fuel shooters to actually be able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But I do love everything that the guys are to each other when they're out on walking on Moya, and yeah. And Anthony Simcoe.
Yeah, from pretty much, I mean, even during the very uncomfortable confrontation scene, Anthony Simcoe was doing a masterwork. And from then to the end of the episode, just had me, every time he was on screen, just had me like in a chokehold. Like he did so good this episode and with this material that he was given.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
Like I alluded to earlier, I really liked Rigel this episode. I liked him every once in a while just kind of whizzing by on the screen and going, "We've got to get out of here," and like that was part of his contribution. But also him deciding the best course of action was to headbutt the magnetic lady. That was a little ridiculous. He was fun, and he was also on point this episode, and he was very much a bro this episode for Dargo in kind of an unexpected way.
In the best that he can be, because he's, for a given value of Rigel.
We grade him on a curve, yes. The bar is a little bit not lower, but different for him.
Yeah. I don't know that I have anything else. Is there anything coming for you?
No, I don't either. Just like I said, I'm a sucker for a disaster episode, so this one was a winner for me. I enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I wish I enjoyed this one more, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a disaster movie person.
Well, it was, my favorite parts were definitely those parts of the episode. Whenever we went back to the soap opera with Dargo and Chiana and Joffy, I was just very much like,
let's get through this.
Yeah.
You wrote yourself into a triangle. Now you have to write yourself out of it.
And clearly the only way to do that was to blow it up.
Yeah. Well, even as often I'm like, why can't we do a little non-monogamy when there are triangles? But not this one. Nope.
No.
It doesn't suit who Dargo is, and the connections are toxic, and no.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was a thing that was. So moving on. Next episode is a two-parter
Ooh.
called
Oh no.
called
gonna cry, aren't I?
Self-Inflicted Wounds.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you, Farscape.
We're going to be joined by my friend Terry from Pink
Yay.
Dumbbells. I'm sorry, we were hoping to be joined by Foreign Man in a Foreign Land for this one, but poor guy got a nasty cough, and you can't podcast with a cough.
Feel better.
Yes. He did some texted, this is an interesting show.
I really think it is the disaster parts that I liked most. That's why I liked this episode, because it was the kind of episode that I like.
Yeah, so Foreign will join us on another episode.
Okay.
And hopefully when sickness clears up. So yeah. Next week or 2 weeks' time, we will be doing Self-Inflicted Wounds.
Sounds good to me.
And so what is your favorite part?
I mean, it actually is Evil Pilot's laugh. That whole climax, really, the way that she stuck herself to the wrong door, and John was like, "Oh, cool, fine, bye," and then Pilot going like, "Ah." That was good. What was yours?
I was gonna go with the drop on the strip, but I think I have to go with yes, but I'm not an expert on you dying.
That is a good moment. That is a very good moment.
Yeah.
Well, Sara, where can the people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at the Fat Culture Critic, and I took Twitter off my phone, but I'll still use it occasionally because it's on my computer. At Blue Stock and Sara, and Blue Sky I'm using a bit more. So yeah, it's the internet is there.
It is there. That is correct. Yes,
it's scarier than normal right now. So
most definitely, everybody hanging there out there.
Yeah.
Well, I just hang out over on Instagram mostly, at Josh Gosdin. If you want to come over and find and follow me, I always appreciate having you.
And Jack is still out there under Jack Cram. And lack of surprise, if you want to follow him, he's having adventures with a metal band. So he's doing good. He just doesn't. Yeah, he'll be back when he's got more time. So that is us for now. So just remember that we will be doing both episodes of Self-Inflicted Wounds together as a complete story next time. So make sure to watch both. And I guess that's it for us.
Okay.
It's a short one today. So
thanks for being here, y'all.
Thank you for podcasting with me. This is an interesting two-person dynamic.
We can do this. Just the two of us? We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. You and I.
There it is.
Okay. So, with that, join us in 2 weeks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. John's particular way of pointing out to her that he has two hands.
I caught that.
Yeah, those two are great together.
They're wonderful.